Hi everyone, I'm Jason Hogstead with the Louisville Historical Museum, and I'm here to answer one of the questions we get a lot at our institution. How did Louisville start? Now, if you go to other local history organizations, you may hear stories about town founders who became prominent citizens and really left their mark on a place. Louisville doesn't have a story like that. Our two founders, Charles Welch and Louis Nowotny, weren't what we would consider role models today. In 1877, Welch was a wealthy Coloradan who hired Louis Nowotny to start and manage a coal mine just east of downtown on the other side of Highway 42. Welch and Nowotny wanted a profit off the coal buried beneath their feet. At the time, railroads and steam engines relied on coal to provide power for the rapidly industrializing nation, and Welch had already invested in a local railroad and figured getting involved in coal would be equally profitable. He and Nowotny also started a town, which Nowotny named after himself, Louisville, to attract and house the miners they hoped to employ. Now, the business endeavors wouldn't have been questionable if Welch had already been involved with an identical business a few miles north of our city. He was a trustee of the Davidson Coal Company, which had started the town of Davidson somewhere near Baseline Road. That business wasn't doing well, but instead of removing himself from the partnership, Welch secretly hired Nowotny to start a competing business, which would make Louisville, so that he could profit while Davidson's company went under, which it did. A couple of years after starting Louisville's first coal mine, Welch sold it and his mineral rights in exchange for a royalty on all coal extracted at the site. This provided Welch a guaranteed income without necessitating actual involvement in the mine. Welch continued to invest in Louisville real estate for the next 2 decades, but he also did so in other regional towns. Perhaps it's best to consider him an out-of-town developer. Welch was influential in Louisville's early years, but was not a major player in our community. Louis Nowotny's relationship with Louisville wasn't much better. He'd been hounded by creditors during the 1870s before Welch hired him, and the two engaged in some suspicious dealings that seemed designed both to hide Welch's involvement and to keep Nowotny's creditors from seizing any of his local assets to satisfy his debts. But Nowotny's shenanigans went beyond some dubious paperwork. In the 1880s, local records indicated that Nowotny was dead and that his debts couldn't be resolved. But other records indicated that he was alive and well in Missouri. Now, we can't say for sure, but based on the circumstances, it's possible that Nowotny was involved in misreporting or faking his own death. Either way, Nowotny, like Welch, never stuck around in Louisville long. So if our founders weren't around Louisville, then who was responsible for the town's development? I like to think it was the regular people who lived here, the miners and their families who formed communities and unions as they fought to make Louisville what they wanted it to be. And I think, if anything, that's the legacy of our town founders.